My mother-in-law wrote my husband's ex's name on my birthday cake, so I pranked her back on hers. She went quiet, and I blocked her. Allow me to tell you about my mother-in-law, the queen of criticism. She made it apparent right away that she didn't like me or our marriage. Every time she entered our house, it was as if she had a radar for spotting flaws in everything. She had a secret plan to nitpick her way through our lives. Take this one instance. She stated that she preferred a specific type of tea and could not stand anything else. I thought I'd be the perfect host and get her that same tea, but it wasn't enough for her. As soon as she caught a scent, she acted as if I had served her some sort of deadly sludge and tossed it out, insisting she would never say she enjoyed something like that. But that was only the top of the iceberg. This woman had a knack for being snooty in the most innovative ways. She made sarcastic remarks about my cuisine, clothing choices, and even how I furnished our home. It felt like she had a personal vengeance against me. You'd think my husband would put his foot down and advocate for me, right? Well, he tried and failed. He'd always try to smooth things over, saying that she needed to respect our decisions and embrace me as a member of the family, but she wouldn't budge. It was as if she wanted to be the family's gatekeeper and determined I wasn't up to the task. Seriously, who does that? We were meant to be a family, yet she treated me like an intruder. So I couldn't believe it when I learned that my mother-in-law, of all people, had planned a surprise birthday party for me. It was a strange twist given that she had never been a fan of mine. I had conflicting feelings, wondering if she was pulling a prank or actually wanting to make amends. Little did I know that my birthday surprise was going to be anything but joyful. The day began with the usual birthday celebrations, balloons, decorations, and smiles. I tried my hardest to put my worries aside and enjoy the moment, but then the truth hit: the birthday cake. As they brought out the cake, I was delighted to see what it looked like, but imagine my surprise when I saw my husband's ex's name spelled out in huge, strong characters rather than mine. Seriously, how could this happen? I glanced to my mother-in-law, trying to figure out what was going on. She had a smirk on her face that suggested she was hiding something. Then she casually said that she had misspelled my name because she was becoming older and forgetful. Yes, right. It was evident that she did it on purpose. Who misspells their daughter-in-law's name and writes the ex's name on her birthday cake? It felt like a cruel joke, and I couldn't believe she had sunk so low. Everyone else seemed to be in astonishment, unsure how to react. I tried to remain calm, but deep inside, I was hurt and enraged. It was difficult not to take it personally, given all of her caustic words and disdain. When my husband saw the birthday cake, he was as surprised as I was. He sincerely wanted to surprise me with a unique birthday celebration, but his mother stepped in and offered to prepare the entire thing herself. It felt like a promising sign that she was now willing to try to improve our relationship. She expressed to my husband that she wanted him to have a good relationship with me and was willing to make an effort. It was as if she was playing the part of a compassionate and understanding mother-in-law, leading him to believe she had turned a new leaf. He had no idea that it was all a ruse, a devious scheme to ruin my birthday and harm me in the process. I did not want to ruin the party, so I simply smiled. I had other things planned. Now, let me tell you some backstory. My mother-in-law seemed to have a penchant for causing difficulties by comparing me to my husband's ex. It was ironic, because my husband had informed me that she had never approved of his ex. Talk about déjà vu. What made it even more humorous was that my mother-in-law had been my father-in-law's second wife. It was as if she had casually forgotten her own history while messing with ours. The irony was too real. The narrative of my father-in-law was a mystery in and of itself. My spouse knew little about his other family, and I hadn't provided much information either. We just knew that my father-in-law had two families, and his other family seemed uninterested in this one. We heard rumors about a distant and troubled relationship with them, but the specifics were kept under wraps. It was as if there was a hidden barrier that we were never supposed to breach. After a year of marriage, I discovered that my father-in-law's divorce from his first wife was caused solely by my mother-in-law. It was like something out of a soap opera, with family secrets and drama around every corner. I couldn't help but wonder if my mother-in-law's incessant comparisons were an attempt to establish herself and fill the shoes of my husband's first wife. It was as if she was attempting to erase the past and establish herself as the ideal wife. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't change the fact that my husband's prior marriage was unrelated to me. We were our own pair, with our own special love story. Coming back to the present, as I previously stated, I did not respond. I simply smiled at her mistake. My mother-in-law's birthday was the next day, so I decided to return the surprise. I decided to play a prank by writing my father-in-law's first wife's name on the birthday cake rather than my mother-in-law's. Of course, I pretended to be completely innocent, blaming the bakery for the mix-up. Oh, her expression when she saw the cake, it was amazing. She was furious, and I couldn't help but smirk. It felt like karma had come full circle. All those times she had belittled me and made me feel unworthy, and now she was the one suffering the consequences. She began yelling and throwing a tantrum, but I stayed calm and composed. My husband attempted to calm her down, but she refused to listen to reason. It felt freeing to watch her lose control for once. I innocently asked whether she was okay, appearing to be unaware of the situation. Inside, I was gleefully chuckling. But she stormed out, unable to take the humiliation. My husband seemed perplexed and inquired as to if I had done it purposely. I refused to admit the reality, so I pretended it was an honest mistake. "Come on, I must have picked up the wrong cake," I said with a completely innocent smile. He was completely taken in. It was my little secret, my opportunity to give her back what she deserved. I knew I shouldn't have descended to her level, but I couldn't stop myself from giving her a taste of her own medicine, and it felt great. Do you think I went too far by bringing up past wounds? My small birthday cake prank appears to have sparked quite a controversy. My mother-in-law is constantly moaning, claiming that I did it on purpose. However, as the saying goes, what goes around comes around. Of course, I denied it and pretended to be completely innocent. I reminded her about the time she ruined up my birthday with the tea incident and how I didn't respond the same way she did. Come on, it was only a cake, right? There's no need to blow everything out of proportion, but you know how mother-in-laws are. They're always looking for an excuse to be dramatic. She enjoys the spotlight, and this was her chance to shine. The entire family is aware of how volatile she can be, so it comes as no surprise that they are all on my side. They've witnessed her dramatic antics before, and they're not buying it this time. It's actually rather funny how the tables have turned. She's used to being the center of attention and getting her way, but this time, she's left red-faced and enraged. I have to say, I am loving the program. My spouse seems to be torn between defending his mother and believing me. But, well, I'm not going to tell you about my little joke. Let him think about what he wants. Everything's in good humor, right? Update 2. Since the small cake prank, my mother-in-law has been surprisingly quiet and has not bothered us much. It's like a breath of fresh air, and life has become significantly more calm. Maybe my little joke had a bigger influence on her than I realized. Perhaps she realized her dramatic theatrics were not getting her anywhere and decided to tone it down a notch. Or perhaps she's simply sulking in a corner, nursing her injured pride. Regardless, I'm not complaining. I can finally breathe without being constantly scrutinized and criticized. It's as if a weight has been removed off my shoulders, and I feel more liberated than ever before. Of course, I am not stupid enough to believe that this newfound peace would remain indefinitely. Knowing my mother-in-law, she might be able to recover from her drama quickly. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy it. Update 3. You know the saying, if you can't defeat them, block them. And this is exactly what I did. Life has been so much better since I decided to block my mother-in-law. No more nagging or drama, only lovely, peaceful silence. And thank you to everyone who supported me in the comments. It is comforting to know that I am not alone in dealing with a dramatic mother-in-law. Your words of support have given me strength. When she confronted me about blocking her, I just acted calmly and blamed it on network troubles. Hey, a little white lie never hurts anyone, right? Furthermore, it's enjoyable to tease her a little. I must say, I'm loving my newfound power and control. Blocking her has given me a sense of freedom and calm that I never thought imaginable. It's as if I have the remote control for her drama, and I get to choose when to turn it on or off. To everyone dealing with a dramatic mother-in-law, be strong and don't allow anyone to knock you down. Until next time, be careful and live your best life. Bye for now. Opinion 1. NTA for sure. Dealing with a demanding mother-in-law may be a nightmare, and you took the necessary precautions to keep your sanity. Blocking her was a wise decision, because network troubles occur all the time, right? You deserve to live a tranquil, drama-free existence. Don't allow someone to guilt you into coping with unwanted karma. Continue doing you and enjoy the well-deserved peace. Opinion 2. NTA is my gal. Mother-in-laws can be a pain in the neck at times, and you may have to take action yourself. It's critical to prioritize your mental health, and if that means avoiding toxic people, then so be it. Stay strong, and don't let anyone make you feel guilty about putting yourself first. Now to the next story, story 2. I thought I was just being clumsy. But then I found proof that my boyfriend was booby-trapping our apartment and now I am running for my life. Original post. I manage a team of 12 people and last year had a 13th member added when other managers refused to deal with him any longer. He is diagnosed with depression and generalized anxiety disorder. He is morbidly obese and suffers from musculoskeletal problems related to obesity and diabetes. When they came to me, it was because I have helped other mentally ill staff members and I was happy to take them on as I felt I could help them. We did make progress and steadily increased their level of work. It has never reached the level considered acceptable, but I made accommodations to relieve pressure, hoping this would lead to a sustained long-term improvement. I sought out equipment to help them be more physically comfortable given their obesity. I felt we were making progress. Unfortunately, they committed a serious breach of security, sent out personal information to someone not legally entitled to have it, and I had to place them on formal disciplinary action. Since then, they have been on sick leave for over 3 months. They are now subject to attendance management procedures and have reached out to a local mental health group and advised them that I have bullied and harassed them. This bullying and harassment has, according to them, has made it impossible for them to return to work. I have documented evidence that this is not true. When they were told they needed to move away from me for health and safety reasons, they became very distressed and demanded to stay with me for mental health reasons. I have signed documentation where they state I am supportive and they don't want the reasonable accommodations I have offered, shorter days, fewer days, longer breaks, etc. I have a meeting with them and their support workers from the mental health group and I have no idea how to handle this. So how do I handle it? I can prove they are lying and they have a pattern of lying to get themselves out of trouble. I have no concerns about my bosses because they are well aware that this is an utterly unfounded allegation. My worry is that they are completely unsuited to the job and because they point blank refuse to acknowledge they are in any way responsible for the mistakes they are making, it is impossible to correct them. TLDR have been accused of bullying when I haven't relevant comments. When told to go to HROUP, I have spoken with our internal HR, but they are terrified that any accusations of bullying a person with mental health problems could be problematic, as it is a hot topic at present. I have referred the person for counseling internally and they have told me repeatedly, documented, that they have taken up this service. My concern is this meeting is not an internal meeting, it is with people who specifically represent people with mental health problems, and I don't know how to respectfully say that the person is lying through their teeth without sounding like a bully. To be clear, their lies aren't malicious and I don't believe this one is either. It is something said to solve an immediate need, so in this case it is because they need to explain the amount of time they have had off sick, and admitting it is because of their own actions is too terrifying. So, I am being bullied, means it's something that is happening to them and they have no control over it. The reality is they do have control over it, but they are so used to being the victim in all situations that they refuse to acknowledge this is not actually true. Comment: judging from your explanation here, it appears that you have an understanding and empathetic attitude toward this person and situation. That attitude, along with the documentation you have regarding accommodations you've offered, should go a long way in your defense. What, exactly, is he saying you've done to bully him? I am not a professional in this area, just have extensive experience working with people with mental health problems in social work education settings. OP. He believes that by pointing out his security breach and substandard level of work I have bullied him. He doesn't allege that he isn't doing this, just that by expecting more I am bullying and harassing him. I am making allowances. For example, other members of staff are expected to deal with approximately 16 cases a day accurately. I am happy for him to do 2 if he does them right. Unfortunately, he can do 2 cases but not correctly. Unfortunately, by allowing him to work at a slower pace, he believes that he should be allowed the same scope of error that someone who is working 16 cases, and as such he is being bullied by expecting him to get his 2 cases 100% right when someone who is working 16 cases has an allowance for minor errors. OOP explains HR more. Yeah, HR's response is basically fire him but don't leave us open to a lawsuit. It is not helpful because I don't want to fire him. He is not currently in a position to do his job to the standard required, but I don't want to detrimentally impact his future. He won't resign for health reasons as he feels it will prevent him getting another job, and HR want him gone without actually doing anything. I'm stuck in the middle because as manipulative as his mental health issues are, they are real. If I wouldn't get fired for doing it, I'd post a copy of the 4-page email I got in response to my specific questions. It was large swathes of the DDA copied and pasted with vague remarks about support, reasonable allowances, and work-life balance. I can only assume they put someone's idiot nephew in charge of the email box on the day I contacted them. They are centralized and are notorious for not giving out specific instructions for fear of having them challenged. Their main purpose is to protect themselves. I have no idea how they keep their jobs, to be honest. Whoop. Last comment. Thank you. His previous warnings have been well documented and evidenced, so I am not too concerned about legal action. I was just really thrown off by the accusation of bullying and harassment and had built up a scenario where I was going to be attacked by his advocates. The great responses like yours has put my mind at ease. It is sad that he has cast himself as the victim in all of this, but I am determined not to be drawn into that mindset, and I won't allow myself to cast into the role of their oppressor because it is simply not true. Update September 18, 2017, 3 months later. Well, the meeting went ahead as planned, and thanks to the wonderful advice and tips from people who kindly responded, I was calm and thought I was prepared. Boy, was I wrong. My colleague and his support worker were both there, and the meeting started really well. I asked how he was doing, what steps he was taking to prepare himself to return to work, etc., and nothing unexpected came up. As arranged, I brought up the allegations of bullying and asked for some specific examples to help me understand what was happening. After worrying myself sick about this, his answer was actually pretty disappointing. He gave no examples and only offered vague explanations about his anxiety making him overreact to other people's conversations, which made him feel like he was being picked on. I advised him, and my boss backed me up, that there was literally nothing I could do about that. I patiently explained that I could not ban people from talking, and I would not sit in silence in order to ensure that he never heard anything he didn't like. My boss stressed that his poor performance needed to be addressed, and that was part of my job, and that doing it was in no way harassment. His support worker did agree with that, and we had a brief chat about how I could better communicate. To be honest, there was nothing they said that was particularly helpful, but I did agree to be mindful of their condition moving forward. Then it got weird. I asked if there was anything I could do to help him transition back into work. This normally involves a phased return, changing to part-time hours, etc., but not this time. As I was talking, he started taking paperwork out of a folder, and I should have realized something was up when his support worker sighed deeply and slumped down in his chair. My colleague requested that he be allowed to bring an emotional support animal to work with him, namely a support cat. We are in the UK and this is not the norm, so I was a bit surprised. He had not settled on a breed yet, but was torn between an Abyssinian or a Siamese. I thought pointing out some obvious difficulties with this idea might make him realize how inappropriate this would be. For example, I pointed out we have a guide dog in the building for a partially sighted colleague. His name is Rufus and is by far the most popular person in the building, the dog, not the human. And they may not get along with a cat. He responded by telling me that it was illegal to discriminate by favoring one disability over another, and if a blind person could have a guide dog, a depressed person could have a cat. I moved on from this, clearly idiotic, point and asked how a cat would react to being placed in a pet carrier twice a day to travel to and from work. He advised me he would train the cat. My boss became very agitated at this point, demanding, "How the hell do you train a cat?" Not to be deterred, my colleague stated that in the worst-case scenario he would leave the cat at work overnight and only take him home on weekends. I asked how he intended to cope with litter tray cleaning, etc. Given his serious weight issues, bending down to empty a litter tray would be difficult for him. He presented me with a spreadsheet he had created with a team rota for cleaning up after the cat and feeding. He had also cost out food, insurance, and the actual cost of the cat on said spreadsheet had an expected donation from each team member, on a sliding scale depending on how he perceived their financial circumstances to be. I was paying the most as I am single, earn more and have no dependent children. The spreadsheet was quite impressive, color-coded and everything. I politely said no to that, and he then started insisting the company should pay, as it would be a legitimate business expense to accommodate his disabilities. At this point I realized my boss was still repeating, "How the hell do you train a cat?" And the support worker was shaking his head and muttering, "I told you not to do this." So I made a unilateral decision on behalf of my company and advised him in no certain terms that we would not be buying any cats. We would not be cleaning up after any cats because we would not be permitting him to bring any cats onto the premises. He was not happy. He complained that I was making it impossible for him to return to work. My boss took a break from his cat training mantra to say that we had perhaps gone as far as we could for the time being and we should end the meeting at this point. As we were leaving, he did make a point of telling the support worker, "There will be no bloody cats." The support worker nodded and agreed this was entirely fair. I didn't hear anything from him for a week or so, then I received another 4-week sick note from him, so I called, as per our company procedure, to check in and see how he was doing. He was still very unhappy about my discriminatory anti-cat stance and advised he would be taking it further. 2 weeks later I received a letter from what initially looked like a local solicitor's office. It advised me I was being sued for breaking disability discrimination laws. The letter itself was filled with bizarre, mainly, American legalese that seemed to be culled from Law and Order episodes. On closer examination, the letterhead had been edited to change the contact details to his home phone number and personal mobile. I'm not sure whose address he used, but it wasn't the solicitors in question. I handed it to my boss, who had also received one, so both were forwarded to our legal department. I was advised to have no further contact with him. The legal bodies have informed me that his contract has been terminated with immediate effect. I am honestly stunned as to how it turned out. I half expected him to be terminated due to the amount of time off sick and his unwillingness to address his performance issues, but I would never have guessed it would end like this. It is both funny and sad. Thank you so much to everyone who took the time to calm my nerves before the meeting. It really did mean the world to me. TLDR. Meeting started fine, took a weird turn and went downhill from there.